Assalamu alaikum and hello, my name is Hashima. Welcome to my channel. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling the story about how I started my hijab brand, and I'll also be sharing with you what inspired me to close my hijab brand. I might be sipping on some smoothie in this video. And this video is going to be kind of long. Ooh, it kind of matches me. I just realized that. And also this video is going to be kind of long. So if you don't have time now, put it on your watch later or something like that to remind yourself. But yeah, put it in the background, get a snack, whatever, and let's chill together. Okay, so I'm going to start with my mother. When I was younger, my mother sewed. So all I remember is hearing my mother's sewing machine. She was either sewing for us, she sewed for the guys and the girls in the family, or she was sewing for her clients, and she sewed for men and women. I don't know why I'm saying men and women, that doesn't matter. But she's just sewed all throughout my childhood. I just remember hearing that sewing machine humming. A lot of times, right, the day before Eid, she was still putting a hem on or doing something. I just remember that whole thing. And even right now, it gives me like a really strong, like exhilarating feeling, because I remember when I saw it, when I was observing, I just thought it was so amazing. The idea of her getting an idea from a customer and then bringing it to life in a garment, that was just so beautiful and amazing to me. I just thought she was so amazing for that. Then also she made baked goods, and she would sell her baked goods as well. And then she also had a graphic design business where she would make flyers and business cards and all that kind of stuff. And then my father had his entrepreneurial things that he was doing as well. And one of the things that I recall very vividly from my father is he talked about how when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of leave the door open for Allah to send you rizq, like unlimited amounts of money, you know? And although Allah's in control of what job you get and whether you're gonna make a lot of money or not, but the point was just that if you work hourly, you're gonna get hourly pay, and you're at the mercy of the boss if they wanna give you overtime or if they wanna give you a raise or whatever. But when you have your own business, you know what I'm saying? It just gives you the opportunity for exponential growth. So that stuck with me, and also the environment that I grew up in, entrepreneurial and creative at the same time. So that's kind of what was around me growing up, and I guess it molded me into being this person now. Not I guess, I know. So, okay, so in 2004, my sisters and I and my mother decided to open up a fashion, clothing, and accessories business. We were making hijabs, but we weren't dyeing them. We were making beaded and painted hijabs. We were making clothes, we were making abayas, we were making hand beaded jewelry and like just all kinds of accessories with beaded goods. It was fun, it was amazing. Over time, from 2004 all the way up until, I'm not even sure, maybe 2011. I think 2011 may have been when we closed the business. But people started going their different directions, you know, getting married, having children, moving out of state, all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of just dispersed, and I still wanted to keep going. And so in 2009, I went to Trinidad and Tobago for a fashion boot camp. Now, I knew how to sew because I learned how to sew when I was about 12 or 13 years old. I started making my own clothes. I started making clothes for my friends. And again, it was really because I liked the idea of having that ability to bring something to fruition, like having a thought, having a design in your head, and you can actually create it. I loved that, and I still love that. And another thing, back when I was younger, there weren't really a lot of options for modest clothing. And so that also created a whole nother avenue for self-expression, you know, being able to have whatever aesthetic you have and being able to put it in your actual wardrobe. So I love that. And I did that for most of my adult life as well. In 2009, I went to a fashion boot camp because I wanted to hone my skills. I wanted to become better. I wanted to learn things that I didn't know. I didn't know how to pattern make, and I learned that when I was in Trinidad. I didn't know how to sketch fashion images, like fashion figures, and sketch the garment before making it. I just learned all of the steps of the creative process for fashion designers when I went to Trinidad. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was there that I didn't anticipate learning, or that I didn't even go for, which was fabric dyeing. And I learned it and fell in love with it. One of the pieces of fabric that I dyed, I loved it so much that I turned it into a book cover. I covered the book that I had there in Trinidad with me that I was taking notes with. I used the fabric to cover it. I just wanted to preserve that print, you know. I felt like a fashion design superhero when I came back from Trinidad. I'm going to insert pictures and stuff. I need to move over a little bit so that I have somewhere to put them. But yeah, so I came back and I went to school for business management. I enrolled in school immediately when I got back because I was so inspired and so motivated that I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You know, like really go hard, lock in basically. And so I enrolled in school. I started with business management because I wanted to, know how to run a business. I knew how to do the design part, but I didn't know how to do the marketing, the advertising, all that. But I only did one semester in business management because I was so bored by the classes. I'm a creative at heart, and some technical things, and business management is not even so much technical, but I was just bored basically. The books that I was reading, I was just like snooze fest. So I switched my major to fashion design. However, when I was doing fashion design, a lot of the people in the classes leaned on me because I already knew how to sew. So whenever the teacher would go out of the room, everyone would bum rush me and be like, okay, how do you do that? Because they figured out quickly that I knew what I was doing. I also figured out that I didn't need the fashion design courses because I already knew how to sew. So the only class that I could say, not the only class, I wouldn't say only class. There's several classes that I really, really benefited from. During that time period, I got a certificate in fashion image consulting. So I was certified fashion image consultant as a result of that course. So that's something I wouldn't have been able to get by just knowing how to sew. The other thing, the major class that really made an impression on me was couture dressmaking. I absolutely love my couture dressmaking class. I learned so many things. Okay, let me go. See, it's already 7 minutes and I ain't even got to the hijab business. Okay, so in 2009, I enrolled in school. So after I took fashion design and realized I really didn't need to be doing that, that was going to be a waste of my time, I switched to fashion merchandising. And that is the business side of fashion. And I absolutely loved it. Every single class, I was excited for every single semester. So anyway, let me skip because I'm going on and on. Moving forward, after we closed our joint business, I decided to open my own business. So that was in 2015. And ever since then, I have been on and off with running a hijab business. So I'm going to get now into the reasons why I decided to close my business. Okay, so the number one thing that I can say right now is my life was so unpredictable. I was married for 15 years, got divorced 3 years ago. My relationship was very tumultuous and it created an environment that wasn't stable for me to have the mental capacity to pour into my business in the way that I wanted to, that was a reflection of my abilities. And so I would step away. The other thing is that it was never actually about me. It was always with a customer in mind. I was okay because I was making clothes for myself. I was making hijabs for myself, making accessories, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to offer other women an opportunity to be fashionable and modest at the same time. So, I feel like things have shifted so much in the fashion world. Now for Muslim women, there are so many, not only fashion brands that are mainstream brands that have the options now for Muslim women, but also there are so many Muslim brands now that offer, everything that you can think of under the sun now. Hijabs are very, very easily attainable now. And so, yeah, I just feel like what I was doing, although my voice will never be, no one could ever speak in my voice. So I know that there's no way that any other brand could ever speak the way that I speak. However, there are options and people can look amazing now without having to spend as much as you would even have to spend with my products. And that's another thing. I'm going to talk about that, which wasn't even on my list, but now that we're here, the amount of money that it costs to run my business and also make a profit and also make it make sense, it got to a point where even I got to a point where it's like, how much higher can I raise my prices? How much higher? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to put the next 2 points together because they kind of relate to each other: time consuming and physical labor. So it takes so much time to go from the very first part of the process to it shipping off to the customer. And even after you ship to the customer, you still have to be concerned about whether the customer gets the package, whether they like what they get, whether they want to return it, whether you want to replace it with something. Like all of it from the very first point to the very end point, I love doing, but it's very, very time consuming. And I always knew that I didn't want to manufacture hijab. And then the physical labor. rinsing them out, wringing them out. There's a lot of steps to the type of dyeing that I do. And so it's a lot of mixing of chemicals. It's wearing a chemical mask. It's wearing a dust mask. It's wearing eye goggles. It's opening and closing the tables every time you're ready to make hijab, wringing the hijabs out, hanging them to dry, ironing them, putting them in, folding them and putting them in the pack. It's a lot of physical labor involved. And honestly, I started getting tired. And I was just kind of like, this is a lot. And in order for me to make enough and then also sell enough to make it worthwhile, it takes a lot. Which leads me to my next point, which is space. My products take up so much space in my house. Supply and demand is a thing that is very tricky when it comes to handcrafted good. When people would see me start posting or advertising, they would have their eyes on specific ones, and by the time they got to my site, they would be sold out. Seems like a good problem to have, but in the long run, it is not, because just think about whatever business that you may have patronized that every time you would go, whether it's a restaurant. I remember a long time ago, before there were so many halal restaurants, we would go to just one restaurant and we would be going for burgers. And it was one of the first halal burger spots. And they never had burger meat. And it was the weirdest thing, because we're like, you're a burger spot. How do you not have burger meat? Over time, we just stopped going. Okay, so the other thing is studio space. So I had a studio space years ago, and it was a very exciting and empowering experience, because it gave me an opportunity to see what was possible if I had focus and not be interrupted and not have distractions and all that kind of stuff. However, I had to close that space about 3 months in, because my son, who was young at the time, was extremely clingy. And I was paying for a studio space to go in and hold and nurse him. That's pretty much what I did in that studio space. So after about 3 months, I gave up and closed the studio space, and I haven't had one since. I have had dedicated work areas where it's like a part of the house, but I can work in it and nobody bothers me. But you're still going to get the knocks on the door. You're still going to get the interruptions. You're still going to get the questions and the people. There's something about having access to someone and having to actually use discipline to not access them. And I think it's very hard for family members to understand, especially when the mother is the one who has the business. Unless I had a studio space, I knew I wasn't going to be able to really do as much as I needed to do to make my business thrive. So like I said, I've had a very difficult journey up to this point. And I've been through a lot of things that are very draining. And so I have made a conscious effort to slow down and also to just basically simplify my life and get rid of things that take up a lot of space. And my business takes up a lot of space, physical, emotional, and mental space. And so as I was thinking about what I want for my future and how I want to feel in my present, I was just like, yeah, that's one of the things that I can identify as a stressor. And not because I didn't still have a passion for it or anything, but it's a stressor because it's a huge responsibility. So yeah, simplifying and slowing the heck down became very important to me at this stage of my life. The next thing is creative burnout. I started experiencing creative burnout some years ago, and it's not because I didn't have ideas. It's because in order for me to execute the types of ideas that were coming to my mind, I would have to raise my prices, and everybody knows I don't need to raise my prices anymore. I guess I shouldn't even call it creative burnout. I guess I should say creative boredom more so, because I started becoming, it just became monotonous, and I really don't like repetitive things. I like to always be doing something new, experimenting, being curious. You know what I'm saying? I like that. And after a point, it was started to be repetitive. And I can control that. But also, like I said, in order to do different things, it takes more time, and that more time has to be paid for somehow. So it wouldn't make sense for me to do all these things and not charge accordingly, nor would it be you get it. So I don't have to go too far into that. But okay, and so this is the last two things, I promise. One is that I have other passion areas that I'm interested in exploring now. And the other thing is that I feel like people need to know when to walk away, and I'm choosing to walk away now. People need to know when to start looking for a new job instead of waiting until they get fired. I am ending on a high note. My loyal customers still love my hijabs. They still purchase my hijabs. And they, want to know why I'm not continuing, because they still have a desire for them. And I'm very proud of the contribution that I've made to the Muslim fashion world. In closing, I want to leave you with my website address because I created a final collection with all the supplies that I had left, because I made the decision to close before I was actually finished making all the hijabs that I had in stock. So I have some left. I've been selling them on my Facebook and my Instagram, but I put up a pop-up website so that it would make it easier for people to purchase and them not have to DM me and all that kind of stuff. So you can go to my website. It's hwatelier.com. And you can purchase some of my last collection hijabs. I am running a special, which is 2 hijabs for $75. Each one is $45, but if you buy the 2 together, they're $75. Free shipping in the US. And yeah, the discount is taken off at the register, like when you check out. I said at the register, but when you check out, basically the discount will automatically come off if you're buying 2 hijabs. But yeah, that's going to be it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, of course. Leave suggestions for videos that you might want me to make. As long as they're within the things that I'm interested in doing, I'll definitely do videos about things that you're interested in. And I think that's it. Give this video a thumbs up. Hit the bell notification. I think that's all the stuff. Share if you want, you know. Yeah, but anyway, until next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.